Hello and welcome to the Frankton High School 3D printing tutorial. Our names are Sam Barr,
Vaughn Cox,
and Natalie Himes.
and we will be walking you through all the necessary steps for making your own 3D printed project. Now there's many ways that you can do this to be able to print something on our 3D printers. You can make your own, or you can find a design on the internet. If you have already found a design on the internet and have it downloaded, then you can move forward into the video. I will talk about that later, but we're going to start by making your own 3D project or online design. We'll start by opening Onshape. This is the website that we use for all of our online designing. Once you have signed in, you're going to open Onshape. You'll have to make an account on here. So once you are in, you're going to create a new project and design whatever you would like. You can see here we have designed a 1-inch sphere and a 1-inch by 1-inch by 1-inch cube. These are the things that we'll be printing for you guys on this video. Once you have your design made, we are going to you're going to go down here to where it says Part Studio 1, and you're going to right click it and hit export. Here you will name your file whatever you choose, so we'll just go with this. And you'll see here where it says format. Right now I have it as a 3MF. There are two options you can do here. There's 3MF, and then you'll see STL down here. The only difference is the STL will print all of the elements within the online design as one when you put it into the slicer program, and the 3MF will put them all in as individual parts. So if you have multiple parts like you see here with the sphere and the cube, you'll want to select the 3MF so you can format it onto the printer. After that, you'll just hit export, and exporting it will download it to your computer. If you have, the next step will be to put it into Cura Ultimaker. This is something that you will have to download onto your computer. Once you have it downloaded to your computer, you're going to go hit the windows down here and scroll all the way down to Ultimaker Cura and select Ultimaker Cura with the blue icon. This will load up your Cura Ultimaker window. I will drag that over to the screen. As you can see here, this window has now been opened up, and this is your Ultimaker Cura window. From here, you will select this little file button right here. Once you open the file, you're going to select the file that you just downloaded, which will look like this. I named it 3D Printing Tutorial. You'll select Open, and then this will export your model into Cura Ultimaker, which is known as the slicer program. The next step will be to position your pieces onto the build plate, which is right here, this grid pattern plate, as you can see here. Since I downloaded it as a 3MF, these are going to be individual parts instead of just one part that can't be moved separately. So you're going to position these onto the 3D print bed, and they'll turn yellow when they are properly on the print bed, not off of it or not flat onto the surface. Yellow means it's good. The way that you position it is you just click it, and then you can kind of move it in any direction as long as you have the move icon clicked over here. There's a few other features I'd like to touch on as well. One being the scale. You can edit the size of your project that you have exported by typing into here. It'll move everything on the scale. So like if you decrease decrease the X by 5 millimeters. It's going 5 millimeters, and you hit enter. It's going to scale everything down by 5 millimeters. I'm going to leave it at 25 like I had to get the full 1 inch by 1 inch scale. You can also rotate your projects by hitting the rotate icon right here. You'll just grab the arrows and you can rotate your project in any way. It'll tell you how many degrees you rotate it, and you can rotate that on any of these axes. We're going to leave it flat how I had it to begin with. And there you see our 2 projects placed on our build plate. The next step will be to edit the settings. So here you'll select this bar up here, which is all of your settings. A lot of the times you'll just insert a default setting, which normal will be fine for these right here. But you can edit any of these settings. If you imported your own file from the internet, when you selected the file and select the file that you would like, a lot of the times downloading designs from the internet will have suggested settings, and you'll see all the settings right in here. If you don't have recommended settings, just printing it at normal or maybe fine will do the job. We're going to print this at normal though. One thing that you do need to make sure you check on are when projects are not entirely flat to the build surface. So looking at this cube is completely flat to the build surface because it's a flat surface. However, you'll see the little red at the bottom of the sphere. The red indicates anything that is overhanging that might require supports, and the blue is anything that is flat flush to the build plate. Anything with red, and for a majority of projects you're going to want to have supports. Supports are very important. If you do not include supports, then your project could cause a mess on the printer and not print the way that you would like it. So you'll see this little support toggle right here. You're going to want to select that. We're going to select it on this project because there is an overhang on that sphere. For support type, I recommend tree because it will keep it away from your project and not put supports on top of the part of the project that you don't want supports on. And for placement, this one doesn't matter as much. I always select touching build plate to make sure, again, it doesn't put your support on the part of your project that you don't want supports to be on. Another thing that you want to always check before you print is the temperature at which you're printing. By going down to, let me find it. Right here, the material where it says printing temperature. This number should always be between 190 and 200 for our printers here at the school. Anything lower than that will cause problems with melting the filament, and anything higher will melt it too much and you'll get lots of strings and it won't come out with proper quality. So anything between 190 and 200 works for that. Anything else we're just going to leave on default settings, and the next thing we have to do is hit slice. So you'll hit slice right here, and that's going to take, depending on the size of your print, this could take a few seconds, it could take a few minutes. This one came up pretty quick because it's a very small project. It's going to give you an estimated amount of time right here. This time is never correct. It's always more than the amount of time it gives you. So when you're printing your project, I would allot for an extra half hour maybe, depending on the size of the project. This one being a relatively small project, it does not take a lot of time and it should be fairly accurate. Then it also tells you the amount of filament it will use for the project. I always suggest hitting this preview button before you save it to disk. It's going to break down layer by layer your project as it is printing, and you can use this sliding bar right here to break it down layer by layer, and it's going to show, and you can just kind of check this. You can see it starts with the supports and then it goes all the way up to the very top. You can see the infill, which is the orange there, what's going to be inside your print, and just to make sure there's no problems or gaps or holes or anything that the support might be missing, As you can see down at the bottom, these blue squiggles right here are the supports that are needed when printing the sphere to make sure that it doesn't break while printing. After that, this is pretty much the last step. Always preview your project, and then the next step will be saving your file onto an SD card. This is the only way you can transfer the code and the online part to the actual printers. You'll want to insert an SD card into the SD card reader on the back or side of your computers. Once an SD card is inserted, you'll see a pop-up window. Okay, and it will save to the removable disk as it says right here in this pop-up window. Always make sure you eject your SD cards after saving your projects to them so that doesn't cause any errors with your program. And then after that, you'll remove your SD card, and that is all the steps to transferring your online model onto the SD card, and it is ready to print.
Okay, so on to the printing step. First, you're going to want to turn it on. As you can see here, this is where the power button is on the back. So I'm going to go ahead and reach around, turn it on. And you'll want to give it a second because it takes a second to kick on. And then you'll want to make sure this is pushed all the way back. And you take the SD card, make sure it's on this side where the gold lines are, put it in. And then now for filament, if you want to change filament, we're going to show you. You'll pull this tab right here, pull it out, and pull the filament out. And then it's stored conveniently in the filament storage. It's even labeled for color if you're colorblind or something. We're going to go with purple. And you're going to want to take it, unthread it as such. Put it on. Thread it through this little black part. And then put it in the tube. Pull this back again. And you can watch it go through the tube until it stops. And now you've changed the filament. So you're gonna move on to preheating. So what you'll do is you'll click prepare right here, go to preheat, and you'll always pick PLA because that's the type of filament we use. And now you can watch the temperatures here, and they'll go up, and we're gonna cut the video until it's preheated. Okay, so now we're preheated, so you're gonna wanna start the print. So you hit this back arrow in the top corner, hit it again, go to print, and you'll wanna click on whichever one you're gonna use. So we're using 3D printing tutorial. It'll turn red. It's kinda hard to see on the camera, but there it is. And then you'll hit print. And here you can see the print rate, the time it's taken so far, and its temperature. And if you wanna change the temperature, you can go to settings and click on it and enter the amount you want. We're gonna stick with 195, but that's where you do it. And then here, this just gives you all the stuff you need to know, and it should just start printing on its own, and you should be good from here.
Alrighty, so now that we're done printing, we have already turned off the machine, but you'll want to do that, which is the same location back in the back of this. And we will give it some time to kind of cool down so you don't burn yourself because it is rather hot, 195 degrees. And so then what you're going to want to do, we have these nice little scrapers available near all these printers and everything. You find them like right next to a printer, maybe on the other side of the printing station. You can use this and kind of like scratch up these prints And the skirt is a little bit stuck. Try not to touch the... Okay. Or even if you want, you can try to lift up. That's really stuck. All right. Well, pretend like I got that off. But if you lift up this, it can also help bend those skirts and the project and kind of pop it off. But then you have your cube and your sphere. So this has supports on it. You won't need to do anything with this cube because there's nothing to break off of it. But for the supports on this, you will want to get rid of those. You can use pliers like these, which is what I will be using. You could use your fingernails or your hands, but I don't have any fingernails today, so I will probably be doing this. And it's a bit of a process, and it's kind of tricky sometimes, but if you just kind of roll it off like so, and of course, you know, the supports are going to be different for every print because not everybody's printing the same thing, but get that out of the way. And there's that. So now we have more of a sphere, and then you can use a file to kind of file that down. And I will probably be going over here to get a trash can so I don't make a mess, but you can also use some sandpaper if you feel like you don't really feel comfortable working with a file, or you don't feel like that's going to work for you. But now you can see it's a bit smoother. It's not perfect yet, but it does take some time, so you will have to keep going at it. But when you are finished with that, if you do want to color it or maybe add some more details, you can use these paint markers. They have a variety of sizes. It's usually the small one, a medium, and then like a jumbo, which not all the time. You won't usually need this one, but and then you can also just paint it regularly with like regular paints and paintbrushes. Sharpie does work, but it does tend to bleed, and it can like it can be a little bit like not as bright of a color as paint would get you. And so this was the sandpaper from earlier though. But yes, and you will want to make sure that you clean up your mess when you're done. So you want to get rid of your skirt and any other little pieces that you find around, but that's basically it, and then you're done.
Last but not least, always remember to remove your SD card from the printer and make sure your area is cleaned up. That's all that we have for you today. And again, I'm Sam.
I'm Vaughn.
And I'm Natalie.
And that is how you 3D print. Thank
Thank
you and happy printing.